Everyone joining virtually, and good afternoon for those of you attending in person. My name is Cora Matzek. I'm the Business Development Manager with NuView Trust Company. And today we're going to be discussing the strategies for real estate success. So I'm really excited to introduce this topic. It's one of the presentations that I'm constantly at different brokerages or speaking to realtors. Of course, this can apply to anyone interested in knowing more about this strategy, but if you're a realtor or broker, pay attention to this if you've not heard of this strategy. Before we actually get into the content of the presentation, I want to go over a few things. We will make time for questions both in person and virtually after the presentation. One of the big aspects of this, though, is we are not your attorney, not a financial advisor, anything of that nature, CPA. We do not provide tax, legal, or investment advice, nor do we sell investments. We custody IRAs, ESAs, HSAs, and 401ks that hold alternative investments chosen by the client. So, short story, we're just your custodian that holds your funds. You let us know where you want these funds directed. If you do have those questions that arise, we encourage you to reach out to the professionals that know your financial situation the best. So what is a self-directed IRA? I get this question often. A self-direction is actually just a marketing term. It's still your IRA account. So across the board, all custodians follow nationwide policies, regulations, laws that are attached with your individual retirement accounts. Self-direction is just where you want your funds directed. It's a marketing term. So the way that I like to describe it to clients is what's different between custodians is what does your custodian allow within their menu of options. With NuView, I like to say our menu is larger than your average custodian because we have that alternative investment side as well too. But you truly are self-directing your funds and where you would like those funds to go. So benefits of self-direction, so diversification is one of them, diversifying your assets, tax savings, growing your retirement account in a tax advantage way. You can get the max benefits out of that, and investing in what you know best. So I mentioned earlier, if you're already into real estate, why not invest in what you know best? We hear of a lot of people who just have their funds tied to stocks, bonds, mutual funds. And that's fine, but why not invest in something that you're doing day to day, or maybe assisting your clients with, because you have that extra knowledge. So, realtor solution. So, as a business development manager, one of the key aspects of my position is going out and spreading the word about NuView Trust Company and what we do. And a lot of the times I'm introducing the strategy of investing with your IRA account, tax-free or tax-deferred. A lot of people have not heard about this strategy or even are familiar that this is something that you could do. I do want to point out, you have always been able to utilize your IRA account to invest in alternative assets since the dawn of time. So since they rolled out with the traditional IRA accounts, you've also been able to utilize those funds and invest in alternative assets. It's just not a well-known strategy. So like I was saying, back to what we do is, like I said, a lot of the time I'm introducing the topic to people. So one way that I pitch to realtors or brokerages is how this would benefit you both professionally and personally. So from a personal perspective, if you don't know, you can qualify, if you meet these two qualifying factors, you can qualify potentially for what is called a solo 401k. So the two qualifying factors that you need to meet this would be that you're self-employed and have no W-2 employees. Realtors, brokerages, they fall into this category often, and of course other people who might meet this qualifying factors as well. But you get max contributions, so up to $66,000 annually, what you can contribute, or 25% of your earned income. If you don't have a savings, if you don't have an IRA now or individual retirement account, this is one way you can meet these qualifying factors to really get the ball rolling and start saving that money for retirement or utilizing those to invest in alternative assets with. So something to look at there. We'll go a little bit more in depth on solos and different presentations, but if you have a CPA and you feel you might meet these two qualifying factors, reach out to your CPA, ask them what you need to do to sign one up. One other thing about this too, I want to mention, it is one of the plans that allows you to take you can borrow for personal funds up to $50,000, and you would create a loan essentially and pay yourself back with interest over time. So it's one of the only plans that allows you to do that if you're looking to do something personally. So what can you invest in? So you can invest in anything the IRS doesn't prohibit, and the IRS prohibits very few transactions, and we'll touch on that later on here, but to give you some examples, so private entities, limited partnerships, joint ventures, LLCs, syndications. We actually have our own syndication division here. If you're curious to know more information about that, we can get you to the right people. Private lending. So we discuss a lot about investing in alternative assets, purchasing properties, things of that nature. But another thing that you could do too is you could lend money out of your IRA and create your own terms and potentially get a higher return than what would people get from traditional loans. So something to consider that if you weren't familiar with that. Real estate, of course, we talk a lot about rentals, Airbnbs, fix and flips, tax liens, notes, things of that nature. So these are a list of common alternative assets that you can utilize your IRA to invest in. So what are the real estate options? So this goes a little bit more rentals, you have your Airbnbs, foreclosures, and you can utilize these tax benefits from your Roth traditional or even your solos. So example, if you have a Roth account, you've already paid the taxes on your initial contribution. So however large you grow that account, you're not paying taxes on that again. With your traditional, you pay your taxes later. So when we say tax-free or tax deferred, we're really speaking on traditional or Roth accounts. And depending on what your CPA suggests, what type of account you have, you would fit into one of those categories. Single family and multifamily homes. So multifamily like duplexes, things of that nature. How would you locate some of these investments? So the same way that you would go out and search for a house for your own, let's say you're looking to purchase a house for you to live in, you would go the same route for investigating to utilize your IRA for an investment property. Of course, there are other avenues as well too, where you can search for houses, foreclosures, things of that nature, but similar concept. The only difference is you're actually funding it with your IRA, and it'd be an investment property. So not too much different there from what you would commonly do if you were looking for a property. Short-term rentals and Airbnbs, these go in a little bit more in depth of the why and the how behind it, some things to consider with this. When you are looking for a short-term rental or Airbnb, from my understanding, Airbnbs and where you can host Airbnbs have gotten a little bit more stricter. So make sure you do your due diligence in looking for properties if Airbnb is one of your target markets that you're interested in investing in. So fix and flips, we hear of a lot of our clients utilizing their funds for fix and flips. One thing to keep in mind, if you're fully going to be utilizing your IRA account to purchase a fix and flip, your IRA needs to fully fund the flip as well too. Unless of course you're in a partnership and your IRA is only funding a percentage of that. If it's 100% fully funded from your IRA, it needs to stay that way. So you can't start putting in your own funds, things of that nature. It's one of the guidelines. Syndication, so I mentioned earlier that we have our own syndication division. If you're not familiar with what a syndication is, it's people who are out raising capital for much larger properties. So an example would be a large apartment complex, maybe hotels, things of that nature. And what you can do is you can get into the syndication deal by investing a portion of your IRA or all of your IRA and whatever that would get you a percentage into that syndication deal. So for example, if the syndicator's minimum is X amount and you put in that X amount and they say that you get 5% or 10%, whatever their percentages are, and then you would find out more about what that rate of return is. But if you're looking for more information, I would encourage you to contact us. We can get you in touch with our syndication department to go in a little bit more in depth on what that entails and how you would locate those syndication deals. Syndication deals are private deals, thus requiring knowing someone or knowing where to look. We usually recommend RIAs, podcasts, networking events. There's so many in your area. If you're ever curious of where you could go, wherever you're located, you can search your local RIA, Real Estate Investment Association, or networking events. And there's always people out discussing syndications and their deals. Unimproved land, so similar concept, you're finding the property, you're purchasing the property, and you're selling the property. So you can utilize your IRA to invest in unimproved land as well. So joint ventures, what joint ventures within IRAs allow the opportunity to invest with other individuals and other IRAs. Use your resources, expertise, and finances to collaborate and work together on a specific venture toward a certain goal. Why would you want to do this? Skills and resource. Maybe you're looking for a deal and your IRA doesn't quite have all of the funds to be able to invest in this deal, but you meet someone else whose IRA has the remaining balance. You could go into a joint venture and utilize both of your IRAs in a tax advantage way to invest. So how would you do this? You could rehab a home or homes to make a profit, income producing properties to create passive cash flow, and buy and resell properties for profit. So some strategies for diversifying your portfolio. What's your property type are you going to be looking at? I mentioned earlier, if you are going to be utilizing short-term rentals, look into the areas to verify what you can and can't do. Sometimes there's rules and regulations with the HOAs and things of that nature. Geographic. What areas are you wanting to invest in? We hear of a lot of people looking to high tourist areas. For example, we're located near Orlando, Florida. We hear of a lot of people purchasing investment properties for tourists. Risk profile. This would be one of those where, the more people that you're around that are doing these things, so finding those people in networking events, RIAs, inquiring on what they're doing and getting their information and feedback on suggestions that you might have, I think is really important. Being surrounded and going into the RIAs and being surrounded by people who are already doing something like this gives me insight on what to do and what not to do. And you'll find that a lot of people who are doing this are really open to giving advice on what they have done, what's been successful for them, especially in RIAs. A lot of RIAs are highly focused on education. So I encourage you to go to one of your local RIAs and find out more information on what other investors are doing in your communities. So we briefly discussed earlier restrictions on what you can and can't do. What does the IRS prohibit? So I mentioned the IRS prohibits very few transactions, and the restrictions would be your people restrictions, your transaction restrictions, and your investment restrictions. So for those of you watching virtually, you can screenshot this. This is a list of the people restrictions that you cannot, for example, if you purchase an investment property and you want your son to rent to you in that investment property, that would be considered a prohibited transaction, or a people restriction at that point. What we can do is, for those of you attending live, we can also send this information out to you virtually as well too, so you have access to it. But it's a good rule of thumb of who you can and can't do business within your IRA. Transaction restrictions: you cannot buy, sell, trade, loan, or extend services direct or indirect. One example would be sweat equity. If you do have a fix and flip, for example, you cannot go in and put in your own sweat equity with your rental properties, investment properties. You would need to hire other parties like contractors to come in and fix up your property for you. Investment restrictions: so you cannot invest in life insurance or collectibles. Your IRA is meant to benefit you while you're alive, not when you've passed. So life insurance is out, as well as collectibles too. So how can this help you do more deals from a realtor perspective? We get a lot of people who have never heard of this strategy, and as a realtor, using a realtor as an example, if you have a client who is interested in, let's just take a duplex for example, and they only can qualify or have enough funding for one half of that duplex. Have you thought about the strategy of utilizing their IRA for the other half of the duplex, or an investment property at that point? It's things to think about when you know this type of information, or you have the knowledge that your client potentially has open to funding. Hey client, do you know someone who's lending money out of their IRA, or have they considered that? You don't have this much qualifications for funding, but have you ever thought of this aspect? So it's things to consider. Having the knowledge of what you can and can't do with your IRA is really important, and it potentially could lead to more deals. So utilizing your IRA to build business. So buying power. There's over $11 trillion sitting in IRA accounts right now. So cash buyers, it's quick moving, immediate availability. There's finance options for deals. And as of 20%, or as of 2021, 20% of sales in South Florida were by investors. And lowering prices mean greater investor activity. So if you want to know more specifically on this topic, or if you have questions about how you could get your funds transferred over to NuView as your custodian, which is not considered a taxable event, go ahead and scan this QR code. You can schedule a free consultation to talk to one of us, or as I mentioned, another member from other divisions of our team, like syndication. And then we can get you started in filling out an application and getting your funds transferred over. And you'll be able to start investing and utilizing your IRA account. Next week on Tuesday, if you want to go ahead and sign up, you can scan this QR code. We're going to be speaking on cryptocurrency and how you can utilize your IRA investing in crypto, which is definitely another great strategy. Jason Shepard will be teaching that class. And staying up to date with all of our socials, you can scan this QR code. We have TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. All of these, we post different tidbits of information, staying in the know of what NuView is doing. One charity that we're a part of is Share the Love, so it gives the gift of mobility. You can scan this QR code to learn more. What they do is go around to different countries and administer wheelchairs to people who would not have access to getting this type of equipment. This concludes our presentation aspect of today's live class. I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor for virtual questions, and then if we have any in person as well too. Amy, do we have any virtual questions?
Yes, so we have two. The first one is, how is property management handled when it comes to real estate investments within an IRA?
So best rule of thumb, so there's no possible gray area. People hire, or we hear of our clients hiring property managers. That's one of the big ones, and then in my opinion, it's less that you have to worry about. If, depending on what type of property management company you obtain, you're not really having to deal with anything other than them letting you know if there's a large repair or repairs of that nature. But it removes all of the gray area that potentially could be there.
And the other one from online is how does the process of selling or transferring a real estate asset from an IRA work?
It's very simple. So I always try to tell clients that really don't think it's not as complex as it might feel, or it's not as intimidating as it might seem. The biggest difference is you're utilizing your IRA. So exactly how you would be transferring assets or titling different without using your IRA, you'd be doing the same thing with your IRA. You're just using your IRA.
Great, and that's everything from online.
Okay, great. Anything in person?
I actually have one question.
Yeah.
I know you're not allowed to do sweat equity on a fix and flip, but you mentioned about property. If I was to buy a piece of property in my IRA, could I build a house on it, me personally?
No, you would not be able to do that.
Okay.
You would hire someone else to do that. It just removes that gray area.
Right.
Anything else? Great, we'll tune in next week, next Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Jason.